Is your practice tired of wrestling with insurance denials, deciphering EOBs, and watching your revenue slip through the cracks? You are not alone. Welcome to The Claim Game, the podcast designed to cut through the confusion and provide you with the best practices for revenue cycle management success. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and we've been with people just like you in the trenches. Each week, we'll break down complex billing processes, share real-world solutions from practices like yours, and ask questions of the game makers and changers of healthcare so you can take control of your revenue. Let's turn those claim denials into deposits and help you return to focusing on patient care. It's time to win the claim game.
Welcome back to The Claim Game. As a reminder, every so often we like to take a pause and get a behind-the-scenes look at the game board that we're playing on by talking to the game makers and game changers of the healthcare industry and the folks that impact how private practices are run today and will be tomorrow. Think of this as consulting the game makers or game changers. These special rounds offer invaluable insights into the design and development of the healthcare landscape, and by interviewing the folks that architect or help change this really complex system, payers, regulators, and other key players, we can gain a deeper understanding of the rules and nuances of the healthcare industry. So this knowledge will give you a significant advantage, allowing you to navigate this murky season of healthcare business with greater clarity and make better, more informed decisions. So get ready to learn from the game makers and enhance your understanding of the claim game. Today's game maker, game changer, is Joe Murphy, the CEO and co-founder of Checkpoint EHR. He is a technology leader driven by passion for serving others and improving the processes of health organizations. His journey with Checkpoint began in early 2000 when he teamed up with a therapist, Steve Blakeman, and they recognized the significant challenges that practices faced with complex administration and billing, and this sparked their mission to create a robust and intuitive, cost-effective EHR system. So since 2005, Joe has been central to developing Checkpoint EHR and ensuring it empowers the thousands of providers that use Checkpoint and have adopted this solution. The company's core mission is to help those who help others, guided by values like integrity, teamwork, and simplicity. Checkpoint EHR serves behavioral health practices of all types and sizes, focusing on building strong relationships, deeply understanding the operational needs of its customers. Through Joe's leadership, the company consistently delivers high-quality products and support and valuable resources, continuously scaling its teams to support this commitment. Please welcome Joe Murphy. Can you just walk us through how you got involved at Checkpoint and include maybe what was your mission moment? Like, what was the moment that you really became passionate about Checkpoint and electronic health record?
Yeah, it's been an amazing journey. And my career, I would say, is in two halves. The first 20 years, I was involved in telecommunications, and it's fast-paced, it's high-tech, but it's also all about the bottom dollar, revenue, income, and stuff like that, the profit of the owners and stuff, et cetera, shareholders, whatever. And when I wasn't, Steve Blakeman was the original founder of the company and had me get involved. He had a ministry he wanted to support and do financially, needed to be able to do that on his own. And he needed to get to what he was doing back then was faxing and data entry for billing for several therapists that he's working with. And you need to go to the internet with it, and that's when I got involved. He reached out to me to help him out with that. And it was so refreshing to get involved with that because the focus on money was important. It wasn't the main focus of the industry. It really is more about the care and well-being of the people that they serve. And so I feel like instead of like completing a call and making sure the doesn't get dropped or connect, and those things are important, we're making a difference in everybody's community by helping clinicians to, deal with the mental health crisis that's going on in our society today. And it just, while we're not on the front line, it just really is good to be able to do that. So it's been fun. And then we really have taken off in the last several years. The Lord was talking to me and said, hey, I was happy just to pay my bills and satisfy that. And he said, look, I'm not blessing you just to bless you. Mm-hmm. And that said a lot. And it told me, hey, you're not using your talents and blessing skills that I've given you to your best abilities. And we started stomping our foot on the gas at that point. And it's been amazing, just the overflow from, blessings of blessings of blessings, ripple out to different layers that are out, and how we're connecting our families and our team and our customers and partners. And it's just been awesome. It's just been, I couldn't have asked for anything better.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, wow, quite the story for sure. And you're an interesting person because you've gone through multiple evolutions of technology, right? So started in telecom, then the internet came out, and now we're going through AI. So you've seen like giant changes over your career. So how do you see this current iteration shaping and shifting how checkpoint or electronic health record systems operate in the future?
Yeah, when I first started programming, many people had to look this up, but we had punch cards, and that was early stages of even a personal computer being created and stuff like that in the early 80s. But there's two major changes in the industry you're always constantly learning something new. Technology is advancing, but there's two major leap forwards that I see that's happened in my not just the creation of the PC, but the internet. It just huge difference in many, many ways, and productivity and capabilities and knowledge and learning and stuff. And I see that happening again, another major leap forward in how AI is impacting in many, many ways, and all throughout our lives, not just in Checkpoint here, but you're interacting with AI that you don't even know. And it's getting better and better and better. And it's exciting. I love learning new things, trying new things, doing different things. And so it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited for it, what we're doing here.
Yeah, it seems like to me, and you'd have a much better pulse check than I would, but it seems like the EHR route is starting to fade into the background more than it ever has. Is that what you're seeing too?
We don't want to be the tool that everybody hates.
That's a great way to say that, because a lot of people don't like EHRs. Yeah.
Well, whether it be software or something that's in your garage or your tool shed or whatever, there's something that just aggravates you to death because you never can get it to do what you want it to do, and you spend more time doing that than the actual object or goal you're trying to accomplish. And so we want it to be so subtle and simple and easy that it's not, you don't even have to think about it. And so it's definitely a challenge, and something that we strive to do all the time. Simplicity is one of our core values, and the core value actually says simply, period. And that's the whole core value statement. So and we do a lot with that, and it's hard to be simple. It's not easy, for sure. And so we do a lot of things to make sure that we put guardrails, protections in place. Ideally, if we can reduce the number of choices you make and you have, it narrows down the opportunity for mistakes or errors, and you don't get denials because you chose the wrong location code, or you chose the wrong billing code with modifiers, whatever it may be that's out there. And so what also we do too is try to make it intuitive, not just easy, but intuitive, where you almost can look at it and figure it out yourself versus spending hours of training, watching tutorials, attending a certification class, or whatever it may be, but doing that as well. And there's a lot of EHRs out there right now that are trying to be a one for all. And that can be okay if you need that, but what it also does is create a lot of noise, a lot of distractions in the systems that aren't necessary. If you're dealing with one lane of service, then you got 10 more lanes you got to navigate through and around to get to what you need to do, and it can create a lot of opportunities for mistakes and issues, and we try not to do that in our system.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I saw a LinkedIn post the other day that talked about how Epic just announced their ambient AI scribe, right? And that seems to be the latest trend. And overnight, I think 3 or 4 of the biggest startups in that space collapsed because of that. And it seems as if there's this feature race in the EHR world. And I could say a lot about that other electronic health record system. I'll prefer not to say it. But I would say that Checkpoint does seem to have a high ratio of signal to noise, right? You're talking about noise, but there's a lot going on in Checkpoint that eliminates the noise for sure. And one of our concerns, like we get frustrated ourselves looking at electronic health records with clunky interfaces and redundant data entry or confusing workflows. What are you all doing to work through those biggest friction points to make the process smooth for patients and providers?
Yeah, we certainly have to, provide training to our customers or agencies that are involved. And, for the frontline clinicians, a couple hours at most and pretty straightforward, especially if they've used an EHR before, it's maybe even less. But what we have to train mostly on is what's going on behind the curtain that you don't know about and that you need to be aware of. And we've had some, agencies that thought they knew everything and they just tried to do their own thing and they didn't realize what was happening behind the curtain that they were fighting against or that was doing for them or whatever that they didn't need to do. And so we do a lot of that kind of stuff to do that kind of training to make it simple. But probably the number one comment we get from demos that we do is we had one gentleman said, I've looked at 40 different EHRs and this is the simplest EHR that we've seen. And like I said, our training the system is so intuitive, people oftentimes think that they can just go off on their own, but it does help to make sure that you understand what's happening behind the scenes, what actions it's going to do on its own, so that you don't have to remember this a certain time of day or week that I need to batch up the cookies to send to insurance companies or whatever it is that you're trying to do to send off so you get payment and stuff like that. Let the system do that. We want to eliminate those redundant, repetitive, non-beneficial tasks or activities so that you don't have to do those things. So that, what happens, especially for your billing administrations staff, first-time submissions should be automatic. I mean, that's, once everything's set up and approved, it should go out the door pretty quickly and easily. We want to keep that fat cash flow going so it's automatic. So we call it our hands-free billing. And it's automatically going out, so you're continually getting checks in the mail or checks in your bank statement, banks coming in and stuff like that. But why do you have somebody reconciling that, looking through it, validating it, batching it up, say, okay, now send it, when they need to be spending time on the denials or the rejections, because that's money that's on the table that if you don't get freed up, you're going to lose it because of time limits. That's really what we try to emphasize on, is trying to do all that the system can do. And what we also do is give you a lot of customization options to configure your practice the way you need it to be. So there's a lot of things in Checkpoints available, but you may want to turn it off. You don't want to offer that to your providers or your staff and stuff like that, depending on how you want to do business or not. And so that helps reduce that noise, reduce that confusion, again, reduce the error opportunities as well.
Yeah, and that makes a ton of sense. I want to go back to something you said, because hands-free billing, as you've described it, is claims go out the door, and that makes sense. Does batching claims make claim submission cheaper for the provider, or does it not matter? Or maybe I'm focusing that question incorrectly and you can answer that better, but I'm kind of curious to hear.
If I understand what you're asking, depending on the EHR that you're subscribing to,
right?
In our case, it doesn't matter how much you submit or how often you submit or whether you automatically submit or manually submit. That doesn't matter. Our model is set up so that we don't get paid unless you get paid. So if you get denied on something and if it's a permanent denial, we don't get compensated on that either. So it works. Now, other EHRs, will charge you every transaction you send out. Even if it's a resubmittal of a denial, they charge you on that. They also charge you on the payment that gets posted back into the system. So you're getting 2 and 3 times charged for the same transaction, which can be a problem. Now, some systems charge based on a number of users you have in the system, and that has its pros and cons too. Our system or our model lets it flex with you. So if you have 2 things that benefit, if you have seasonality to your revenue, like, summertime, kids are out of school, you don't have as much services being rendered, then our price goes down with that because you're not rendering as many hours. If you have part-time or contract work that's not, having to purchase a full-time license or full-time, it's only based on what they render and what you get paid for that we actually get compensated for. So it's a little flexible depending on your structure. Now, if you need something that is a fixed dollar amount every month, I know exactly how much I'm going to get charged, then you might need to choose another system because it's not designed that way for our structure.
Yeah, I've seen this trend more and more among tech companies that serve our shared population of healthcare, which is usage-based pricing. It seems to be a really popular trend that's coming down the pike. Any reason for that from your perspective? I mean, you have a really unique perspective. Why
Yeah,
are
we wanted something somewhat, it's different in the market, obviously, but we wanted something that allowed us to charge for those agencies that are huge and large, putting a lot of demands on the system, a lot of demands on our support team, our development team, and let them pay or their share of that burden, whereas some of your smaller ones don't have that, and we don't have to be involved. It doesn't cost as much to support them and help them out. But they also get the benefits of the growth and expansion of the larger agencies, and especially the collaboration that we get. So our system is, whenever we put a feature in, everybody gets benefit of that. So they're not paying the high price of that to get that into their system. So it's very good. And the other thing we try to do is include a lot of, where we can, all your additional fees that you might get from other EHRs for add-ons and things like that. We eliminate that. Now, there's some we can't do it because there's a licensing fee we have to pay, and it's not something we have internal. Probably the biggest money saver that we see is a clearinghouse. You have to have most EHRs, it's a separate contract, a separate partnership you got to have, additional fees you have to do. In our world, we've integrated that where we want you to forget the word clearinghouse. It's included in the fee. You don't have to engage with it. You don't have to maintain two systems. All those headaches that you deal with, we want to eliminate that and reduce that. And our pricing, I think, is competitive even if we didn't include the clearinghouse, but because it's in there, it's even better in terms of competition. But it's hard to market that because people don't pick that up or understand sometimes the cost and the significant impact of a clearinghouse on their team and the administration of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think clearinghouses have become a bigger part of the conversation since the cyber attack on Change Healthcare, and that upended a bunch of practices' revenue. And now that has become quite the topic of conversation, it seems like. So I want to pivot a little bit because we've talked about the clinician experience within Checkpoint and some of the pain points and friction points you all are solving. I'd love to ask you about the patient experience interacting with an electronic health record. And I want to preface my question by talking about a news article that came out recently that the current administration is trying to create this unified patient record system nationally. That's an opt-in system, which you and I both know is just probably ripe with issues and security issues. What is the patient experience working with Checkpoint? How is that smooth? How does that compare to other electronic health records?
Yeah, so we kind of envision a patient portal as, an extension of your care. It should be something that's created for convenience and a deeper engagement with your patient or your client. We don't, obviously it's going to possibly or hopefully lighten some of the administration work, but it needs to be something that supports the needs and the inquiries or the phone calls or emails that a practice gets from a patient, to eliminate those communications outside of the portal through phone calls or non-HIPAA emails to reduce the HIPAA risk that may be created there. But it should be easy access for the patient to get access to and present or have available quickly, whether it be their phone, tablet, or computer, quickly get to the information they're most frequently asking for or needing. And like I said, it really should be an extension of your care, not a replacement of care, but just an extension to add more value and reduce everybody's burden of trying to keep up with things and tracking things and calling in and press 1 for this, 2 for that, et cetera, and then all of a sudden realize you've been thrown back at the beginning and have to start all over again, which is super frustrating. Or sitting there waiting on hold for somebody to answer the phone when you got something that could quickly be answered or resolved inside of a portal or something.
Portals are so important. I mean, and the user experience within an EHR is critical. I use a couple different ones personally, and I don't enjoy the experience for either of them. And I hope that AI is transformative here. Do you have any, and this is purely back of the napkin, right? Any predictions on how AI, any transformative technological innovations will impact the patient experience with Checkpoint or other EHRs from your perspective?
Yeah, I think it's going to have a huge, huge impact. I can tell, for us internally, we've been engaged with AI, or at least keeping a close watch on it for many, many years now. And at first it was pretty much a novelty. It was like, yeah, I can create a better email or a better letter. And it was just cute at the time. But now it's a serious player. Now it's a serious difference in many ways. And it's moving at such an incredible speed of advancement every week, every month. There's some new feature or functionality that's just mind blowing what it can do and capabilities and stuff like that. And so it's going to definitely have a really important and critical. But like the internet, when it first started out, it's a tool that can be used and should be looked at as a tool. Many people look at AI as the evil voodoo magic black box thing that's, stay away from it, it's the end of times kind of thing. And that's not necessarily true. A tool can be used for both good and bad. And we had to learn how to navigate and work through the internet, how to get around and get away from or protect ourselves from those bad things and stuff. But AI is going to be incredible. Internally, we've been using it quite a bit. I can say our team has productivity, and especially our developers, it's probably increased their productivity tenfold. And not just in terms of production, but the quality is just mind-blowing and crazy how it's doing it and what it's doing. And so we're really putting a change the way we do business. We are becoming an AI first focused company. And so everything we're doing, we're looking at how and can we do it through AI and what we can do that. And it's obviously allowing us to keep a throttle on our headcount and administration costs and stuff like that. But that's not the primary goal, but just the power and the capability for AI to deliver what it does. Now, we have to know that AI doesn't replace anybody. And you, as a human, always have to stay in control. You always have to stay in the driver's seat and treat AI as a thought partner, not a thought leader. One of the things that is getting better, but not quite there, is a phenomenon in AI called hallucination. And AI is designed to always give a response. No matter what you ask, what you do, always give a response. The bad part of it, or the hallucination part of it, is even if it has to make up an answer, it will give you one. The problem is if you're not very familiar with that content or that topic, it's super convincing, and it makes you can believe that what it's talking about is true. Now, many tools today, at least in the last few months, have starting to give references to where they got the content that brought them to the decision that it's presenting to you, which helps you validate and verify that it's accurate and it's true what it's doing. But still, it's going to be there. But it's going to really empower us and allow, to me, in my mind, it's going to allow us to be able to do things more than we ever imagined, and not just the if this then do that kind of workflow kind of thing that you've seen in the past, where developers have had to design systems in an if-then scenario, and they have to imagine every case that might be presented or engage with and how then to respond to it. And if they don't have that scenario built into the program, it doesn't know what to do and maybe errors out or just does something weird that you're not expecting. AI is going to be able to take it and learn and use what knowledge you've given it, experiences it's had in the past, and make its own decisions. Or alert to a human to say, hey, I'm not sure what to do with this, or we're at a fork in the road that you haven't given me direction on and stuff. It's AI agents is what that's called, and it's going to be able to do things. And what's really going to be cool is it's going to be able to do predictive insights and anomaly detections that in most EHRs or most systems, not just EHRs, you have to go in like in mine for it, like a data mining or gold mining to pull out, what's going on, what's happening here. Hey, I wonder if this is happening. Is this happening? And then you have to do reports and the spreadsheets and all this kind of stuff, like where AI can keep that and pull that out and highlight it and detect that on its own. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be crazy fun. It's buckle your seatbelt because it's going to be fast and we're going to be moving quickly, not just us, but the world in general as it adopts and wraps its arms around AI.
Is that how it was with the internet? You felt like you had to just learn how to use the tool and the system and adapt better, faster, smarter than anybody else?
Goodness, when the internet first came out, Google wasn't around and Yahoo was there and search engines weren't what they were, and then Google came onto the scene. And even with Google, you had to learn how to put in the keywords to get what you're looking for, and it became a little bit of a craft. And nowadays it's pretty sophisticated and pretty straightforward and simple compared to what it was. And I think in some ways that's what's going to happen with AI. It's a little bit of a mystery in many ways today, and just so many things that it's confusing in some things. And I think it's going to settle at some point, become more intuitive and more easy for people to engage with and take advantage of it. Like I said, there are some things that's concerning that people are using it, like if it's a therapist and asking it for diagnosis information and all those things. And I think that's a huge risk, but it's where we are today.
And this is how policy gets shifted. right? We're living it right now. And I think no matter what industry you look at, there have been the way that you get to closer to the truth or a better tool is you have to release something and then make adjustments to that thing, right? In my industry, in the billing industry, if you look at the history of health insurance was not a reality until after World War II, and every other peer to the United States decided we're going to make some version of universal health insurance to account for the casualties and the healthcare need. And the United States took a sharp left turn and went the private route for employers to offer to attract workers. And then the IRS made health insurance more attractive by making it tax exempt or tax deductible. And then we've taken several other turns from a policy perspective to try to make what we have better. And that's how you get an idea that shapes and molds how the populace does things. And so what we have, in August of 2025 as we record this, it will not be what it looks like in August of 2026, right? And neither will Checkpoint, right? It'll be a totally different ecosystem, and it'll be really exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's just like the commercial airlines, traveling from New York to California, their autopilot's constantly realigning itself on the path or the goal. And in the software community, or at least in our office here, there's a term we say version 1 is better than version none. And so while version 1 may not be the ultimate where we know we want to go, the final destination and what it is, it's better to get at least something out there, learn from it, adopt and adjust as, the flight that we were navigating the flight pattern and path. Same thing. It's just get it out there. And again, with AI, things are moving so fast. By the time you develop and put it out there, it's obsolete because a whole new technology features come along so it's almost disposable. So you have to, try it, experience, learn from it, and move that knowledge and experience forward to the next iteration or the next implementation of what it is.
Yeah, and it's good to have the attitude that it's fun because you have to be flexible. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to get left in the dust for sure. Absolutely. And the AI therapy thing, I haven't done a lot of looking into it. I probably should.
One mistake in your notes can cost you a reimbursement. Blueprint helps providers avoid that by writing smarter documentation, flagging issues early, and getting claims out the door faster. Check the show notes for the link to give it a try for free.
But with this whole technological shift, and I feel like this was the way it was with the internet too, from what I read, but data security and privacy are always top of mind, especially with HIPAA. How does Checkpoint ensure that as you have patient information coming in, clinicians are incorporating new workflows? How are you ensuring that the new AI features and new tech that's coming along hits the highest standards of security and patient trust are met?
Yeah, so patient, protection of patient data, PHI and stuff like that is maintaining a trust is non-negotiable. It's an absolute. There's nothing we can, compromise on in any way. And so all of our platforms that we're using, whether it be internally or partners that we partner with, we're exchanging data or HIPAA compliant storage. And encryption is, when the data is in transit or stored, it's always being encrypted. There's high access controls that keep, people in or out or validate or verify that they're there. There's audit logs of who's in, who's out, what they did or didn't, whatever's happening. There's vulnerability scans that are going on in various ways. All of our data that we host or have access to or control of are in US-based HIPAA compliant data centers. We don't do any kind of offshores or international type thing. But going back into the AI thing, a product like ChatGPT is using all kinds of information that it gathers from people's interaction with it, not just in the mental health world, to train its model. And so it's not HIPAA compliant that I know of, or there may be a flavor you have to purchase to get there, but it's not there as far as I know. And so you have to be careful with some of that kind of stuff. The AI model that we're using, we've got it in our AI assisted notes. It's trained by licensed professionals. So it's not trained by the user data that it's putting in or storing any of that information. And those clinicians are constantly checking, for making sure it's secure, that it's private, and that the responses and the input or responses it's giving back to the users are reliable and clinically sound. So that's hugely important, especially whether you're using an AI tool or other tool outside of your EHR that you're using, or whatever. Just you want to make sure that what is happening to that data and where is it being placed and what is it being used for protection, HIPAA concerns for sure.
Is that the only concern? Because I've heard this trend come up a few times that the models are not being trained by past sessions, but they're being trained by clinicians. Is that a HIPAA concern, or is that the only concern, or are there other concerns why it would be important for a tech company who deals in this world to say it's not trained by other sessions?
Yeah, I think, you said using therapy as AI as your therapy. Try it sometime. You'll see what I mean about in terms of its responses. Some of it's like, oh no, that is the worst thing you want to do or not do, depending on what you're giving it. And so, and again, it's some of it's just trying to give you a response, make it up, whatever it can, just to respond to you. It's the way it's designed. Whereas the clinician side of it, they're looking at it from soundness and making sure it's exactly whole in terms of its response based on the inputs that it's getting, the information that it's giving back. And you want something or somebody involved in that versus it learning on its own and coming up with its own responses and its own answers based on the popularity of what other users are doing, whether it's, if everybody was going the wrong direction, it's going to say that's the right direction when it's not. And you don't want that pattern to develop what it thinks is the right thing to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to go back to something else that you said. So you mentioned that the data centers for Checkpoint are US based and you don't do any offshoring. Can you talk about why that's important to mention?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I imagine if there's ever a situation and we get into legal trouble, whether we need to pursue somebody who's breached or done something with the data or whatever, or vice versa, somebody's coming against us, you get international lawyers involved. It's expensive enough in the United States. Imagine if you have to go international. Now you got to get international lawyers, and the laws there may be very different and less restrictive than they are here in the United States. And so it's can create a big risk. We understand the laws. We all need to abide by them here in the United States and adhere to them. And so we know what the rules are, the boundaries are, and can hold each other accountable to that, whether it's ourselves or the partners that we engage with or customers, et cetera. And so to me, it's a cost and just protection to make sure that because if I don't understand what's going on in another country and they can freely share or sell that content, I have no control over that or no able to stop that. And yet I'm at risk and I'm liable for that, from that data getting out and exposed. Because if it goes offshore, it very well could come back onshore in the wrong hands for the wrong use. So,
no, that makes a ton of sense. I just learned about a law on the books in Florida that any electronic health record doing business in Florida cannot offshore that data. And I think that's a very wise policy in general, because like you said, you just don't know what's going on. And the legal footing is very important to protect not only the practice, but the patient data for all the parties involved. I think that's very wise for sure. So you mentioned earlier that the pace of innovation that's happening right now with tech and EHRs is so fast that it's often by the time you release something, it's obsolete because something else has come along. And that might be overwhelming for a lot of practice owners, just the rapid pace of tech changes. Do you have any start small strategies for learning AI and technology innovation for those who might seem overwhelmed by the rate of change?
Yeah, I'm a professional learner from YouTube. I'm almost certified. A few more hours and I can probably be certified on it. But I consume a lot of YouTube content, and the horrible thing is I don't give back, and I should. I don't. I should. And so YouTube's huge for that. But pick your AI platform of choice, Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever, and tell it to teach you. I honestly,
smart.
Ran into a gentleman that knew nothing about AI, and he said had AI create a AI learning course and teach people how to do it, and he made $250,000 in 90 days selling this course. This was a few years back.
That's outrageous. That's crazy.
He just said, teach me how to do it, and I'm going to post this and sell this to people, and made a lot of money. But AI can teach you or tell you, and just ask it. And one of the key things to do with AI, which is kind of fun, if you're trying to learn something, tell it to ask you one question at a time to then get to the response or to a certain whatever outcome you're trying to achieve. And it will interview you and ask you questions, and that will teach you as well. And then it'll come back in and give you an answer. And you can keep doing that over and over again and let it guide you through it. And it's amazing what it can do, teaching of its own.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. What is your philosophy on how practices should approach integrating new technology or switching EHRs or rolling out a new tech platform in their practice?
Yeah, I mean, depending on your size, well, it's different depending on the size for sure. The smaller ones, it takes a few people a lot of effort, and a larger one it may take less people more effort, whatever, to change. But it can be a challenge and daunting in many ways. What you want to do, let's just pick on the AI assisted notes, for example, that we've
Sure.
rolled out here recently. You're going to have basically almost three different groups. You're going to have your early adopters, people that are like, they got the latest gadgets in their hands. They want the latest thing or coolest thing. You probably want to engage them first and get them involved, get them excited, get them to have some successes that they can share with the rest of the team. Then you get your middle adopters that are like, they want to, but they're a little hesitant, just like not sure. Should I go now? Should I wait? And bring them along. Then you got your late dragging, I'm not changing kind of people. I still want to use paper folks, and you may have to force them a little bit. But if you've got most of the company already switching and they're doing really well, and they see that they're not having to do notes at night and weekends, hey, maybe I need to adopt AI assisted notes. And so it might can help them bring them along. But that's kind of the way. And try it small, get some successes, get some learning experiences, and again, just share that and move along throughout. But and switching EHRs is not an easy task. Let me just say that. No matter who you are, no matter what EHR you're dealing with.
Yeah, it depends on the originating EHR. In our experience, the originating EHR, we don't have to name names, but if they're a closed system, it's very hard to extract data.
Mm-hmm.
Other EHRs take a philosophy that it's your data. It's your data. It's your practice.
Yeah.
You come and go as you need to. And those are the ones that tend to end up winning the game in the long run. So those are the ones we enjoy working with because it's a lot easier to do our jobs. And usually they have a philosophy like checkpoints where we want to iron out the bumps simply, period. I mean, that's what you're looking for in an electronic health record system for sure. So beyond the technical aspects of what you're doing, Joe, how does Checkpoint, how do you view your role in the broader patient care ecosystem?
Yeah, we're always looking for work, wanting to do work that matters. Like I mentioned about working in telecom and then shifting into the mental health world and the difference. All of our team that we hire at the core or the heart of them and what they do is they're service people. They want to help. They want to serve in some capacity, some way to help out wherever they can. And that's key. I mean, regardless of their skill set or whatever they have, that's one of the key things that we're looking for and seeking out in an interview process. And the company wants to support that and back that. And so we provide 40 hours of what we call VIP time, which is a volunteer incentive program. And it allows our team member to go out and volunteer up to 40 hours a year to help out a nonprofit in their community and serve in some way. And who knew that there's such a thing as a diaper bank that you go and pack diapers for new mothers and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of ways you can help, and we wanted to do that more and more, that kind of thing. And we also look at ourselves too as not as just a software vendor, but a partner. We're looking at for the long haul, not for the short. We want to collaborate with you. We want to figure out, what are your biggest pain points? What are your biggest struggles? How can we help you with that? Whether we can do it ourselves or can we connect you to a friend of ours or partner of ours, and maybe they can help you in some way. And so we want to win. And when you win, we win as well along with that. And that's, again, same thing with our pricing model and stuff like that. So we want to stand, shoulder to shoulder with agencies. We're not on the front line, but we want to serve the mental health clients and help them and to facilitate that hope for healing in many ways. And we want to stand shoulder to shoulder and do the work that really matters.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I have another back of the napkin question for you if you're willing to answer it. No need if you don't want to, but with the recent domestic policy bill rolling out and a lot of the predictions around what will occur as a result of folks losing Medicaid coverage or insurance coverage in general, you have any forward-looking statements around how practices should prepare for those changes, the impact that could have? Does Checkpoint have any resources around how to adjust to recent domestic changes?
Yeah, I haven't dug into it as deep as you have. I know you've done a lot of research and spent time on it, and I haven't done that. I just generally have a philosophy that, the administration, regardless of what type of administration things are going to change, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll oscillate from one side to the other side, and it just continually changes back and forth. And I think if we continue to provide the quality of service, you're going to be okay. You're going to be continue to do and serve the community, no matter if the community shrinks a little with the changes that are proposed or coming out, or what. While the entire community may shrink, your community may grow because of that. And so that's the key thing to focus on, is to serve, make a difference, make an impact, be the best and do the best that you can, and not worry about too much what the administration is doing.
Yeah, we always analogize administrations and policy changes like this to substitute teachers. Like, remember in school when you had a sub and it was like, oh, great, now we have a sub, we can kind of pick
Yeah.
on them. And
Yeah.
some assigned more homework than others. It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for right now, you have to be flexible to more barriers, perhaps. But
yeah.
no, it's
Well,
it's
Medicaid
very
in each state, I mean, everybody's got different things going on in each state. And it's funny because you see one state make some changes and stuff, and then another state says, hey, let's try some of that, but let's do it a little different this way, but similar, but not a little different. It's crazy. But like I said, if you keep your nose to the grind and really provide the services, you're going to be okay. People are going to come and seek you out to get the help that they need to better the quality of their lives.
Yeah, that's right. And, by nature of being a national company, we get to watch and be on the front, have a front row seat at payer changes all the time. Indiana, for example, Carolyn says, oh, everybody gets a 50% rate decrease. Indiana providers go, how am I supposed to navigate that? And we say, you got to leave, because mental health clients are 4 times more likely to follow their clinician. Actually, any client is 4 times more likely to follow their provider out of network. So take off, go find something else. Or you look at Oregon, and they just expanded their financial offerings for certain medical professions so that they can inject more providers into the system. So it does depend on the state that you're in. And I think you're right. Don't necessarily look at all of the news coming out or all of the headlines. I think that's just going to serve to stress you out, but really make informed strategic choices. And I think, at least our working theory for us for the last decade has been the EHR of choice, and how well you know that EHR of choice will in many ways impact your success. So I don't know if you've seen that to be the case too or not, but.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, in a practice, the EHR is the probably single most important component or tool that you have in your business. And so it's not a decision you want to make lightly or quickly or anything. And you want someone that will go shoulder to shoulder, that will stay in the fight for you if there's something going on, you need to get resolution and help out. It may be that the EHR can't do it themselves. They need you to work with them to do it, but you want them to be in the battle with you and stuff. But you actually touched a little bit on the Medicaid and being concerned about that. Maybe diversifying, expanding the payers that you are contracted with, so that you're not all Medicaid. And it might be a time to do that if you're concerned that your community is going to get smaller and you need to do something to protect your revenue stream or your practice and stuff.
That's very smart, for sure. Joe, one of the things we ask all of our guests, and I really appreciate you being here and talking with us a little bit about what's going on at Checkpoint. It's really, really fascinating to see what you guys are doing. But what is one piece of advice that you would give to a private practice owner in general?
That's a good question. Hard question. Well, I don't know. My first response would be don't create, at least from an EHR standpoint or a vendor or partner with you, is again, treat us as a partner, not as an adversary, not as a necessary evil, as like we mentioned earlier in the podcast, but partner with us. We're not perfect. You're not perfect, but we understand that and we work around that, and we, own up to our mistakes and learn from those mistakes and do better. But again, look at it for a long term. We may hit a bump or something along the way, and no matter who's at fault. Could be the payer, could be the provider, could be, but again, we want to move forward and make it better and fail forward. And in fact, one of the things that we stress here, and something I had to learn, took me many, many, many years, is I always imagined that I had one bullet. And if I didn't hit my target, my life was ruined. I had no more chances for success. And I had to learn to wrap myself around and actually try to fail. And I tell my team, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. And so that means if we're trying to do something different we've never done before, why wouldn't we expect that there's going to be some failure? Now, I don't mean fail stupid. I mean fail forward, like I said. Fail trying something different, do something better, and learn from
Yeah.
it. So, as long as somebody's not going to get hurt or injured and severely or stuff like that, my first question when somebody brings a problem to me, if we do or don't do this, who's going to die? And if they say nobody, then that obviously makes the decision. The next question's a lot much easier. So wrap yourself around failing. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard.
Oh, that's great. No, thanks, Joe. And sometime I'd love to ask you about lessons you've learned around failing stupid. That sounds like there's a loaded story there.
We've done our share of those, but we've learned a lot from that.
Yeah, well,
but it also gives your team the freedom, instead of coming to you as the leader or your organization, to make decisions on their own and own it. Mm-hmm. And own it, meaning they're going to take care of resolving the problem versus you always having to do it or you always having to give them the order to that. And freedom to grow and expand, because if you don't, then your agency or your practice is not going to be able to expand if everything has to go to and through you. And they're scared to do things that maybe they've been there for several years and should know the answer and don't do it because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble because they failed or made a mistake or whatever. So it does empower them and gives them the freedom to do things and grow your practice.
That's excellent. Hey, thanks so much, Joe. I really appreciate you being here and speaking with us. Yeah. All right. Where do people go to learn more about Checkpoint, what's coming out, updates, etc.?
Yeah, we go to our website, checkpointehr.com, and you can find all kinds of things there. You can find all kinds of resources of information. We have a vendor strategic partner list of different services that complementary companies offer in various ways, from accountants to bookkeepers and consultants and staff hiring assistants and things. Go there. There's webinars that are available. We're constantly bringing on different topics and subjects that may be of use or informational. Even if you're not a subscriber to Checkpoint, EHR system, you're welcome to join us and learn from that and stuff. Love to have a conversation, get to know you, whether we do business or not, just get to know you and what you're facing and learn from each other and how we can help each other out or share friendships or whatever we can do.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, thank you so much, Joe. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jerry.
If you enjoyed today's episode of The Claim Game, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really helps new listeners to find us. Make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing to The Claim Game on your favorite podcast app. Your feedback means so much to us. We want to provide valuable education about revenue cycle management. So if there's something we didn't cover in our topic that was a burning question for you, please let us know so we can try to get you the information you desire. You can find the links to all resources we mentioned in this episode in the show notes. And if you want to dive deeper into our resources, we have two places you can do that. First, you can go to our blog at practicesol.com/blog, where we have 8 years of educational blogs. If you want to learn more about what Practice Solutions does, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to practicesol.com to learn more and to connect with one of our awesome people on our team. Thanks for listening. We are Jeremy and Catherine Zug, and this is The Claim Game. See you at the game table next time.